You don't know who Cardi B is?
No.
She's like the one that was like.
Really know of, but don't. Well, I've probably heard, but haven't heard of.
Yeah. Oh.
We get the middle for speaking of
She's
like
very none of them. All right, so as we talked about yesterday,
Go ahead.
just like with parabolas, we can use completing the square with graphs of circles. So we want to write this function, or actually we need to go back to that conversation from yesterday. It's going to be pretty obvious once I ask the question, but circles, are they a function?
Yes.
No. They don't pass the vertical line test. I mean,
Don't pass the vertical.
Yeah, they don't.
That's absolutely
I
right.
think there's like two parts where they do.
Hold on, the reason is what? I thought you were going to say something prolific.
What's a prolific?
Prolific, like really deep, really thoughtful. Really.
Well, I mean,
Like I thought you knew something you were going to share with the class.
No.
So you can make circles with two different broken up. I mean, you can make almost anything. But like thinking of Chris's frog that he made, you can take functions or non-functions, set them under certain domains, and make things happen. So a circle, like this equation, is not a function, but it will generate this.
That's pretty in scale, though.
What?
Pretty in scale. What do you mean pretty in scale?
It's like pretty to scale because on the other side of the y-axis there's 2.
Oh, yeah. So, graphing form, general form. Now you'll hear these things called a lot of different names, like standard form sometimes gets used with circle formulas. For CPM use, and because you guys are going to keep using CPM, we're going to call these general and graphing form. We used to call them standard form when I was in high school.
Standard deviance.
I hate it. It's so dumb.
Then you guys will love the least squares residual lines and things like that.
Yeah, sarcasm.
No, we're talking about like videos.
It's
Really dumb.
So dumb.
So, graphing form, what we talked about yesterday, right? You know your center and you know your radius based off what we see. General form is not as nice. So, set this circle into graphing form, then generate the general form of it.
Now rewrite it.
I didn't mean to say generate general.
So like,
So, this circle, and I think we even talked about it yesterday, in graphing form is what?
X minus
3 squared.
Yeah, x minus
the
3
quantity of
x minus 3 squared
plus
plus
the quantity of y minus 1 squared equals 25 over 5 squared.
You guys sound like you're on the Kool-Aid or something.
what's the Kool-Aid? Wait, what?
Kool-Aid?
When people join cults, there's always that saying, like, don't drink the Kool-Aid because the Kool-Aid's poisoned.
Yeah.
You gotta know these cultural references.
I
You're
do.
out in the
She
world.
doesn't.
So-
Because people make jokes about cults making.
How? Did you hear what she said?
What?
Cult
Yeah.
Earl reference.
Jenny.
I
Why?
love Jenny. Oh.
I like that joke a lot. All right, put this into general form. That circle.
I hate general form.
So foil. For
Okay.
some of us don't even practice with foiling.
Yeah.
Or when we foil, it's not distributing the squaring. That's the biggest mistake that people make. We have to foil this and think about if it was x minus 3,
I have to do
x
it,
minus
like,
3.
go with the square.
So you can either square, and double, or square, double, square.
No, like with the little like chart. It's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And then plus y
That's not graphic.
squared.
It's not standard form.
General form.
It's not general form.
I'm just trying to foil this so it makes sense.
Y
You just come in here really aggressive.
equals 25.
It's gonna be 2 lines.
And then can we
I'm
like,
hot. I'm
and
sorry,
then can
I'm
we
sorry.
just like, yeah, like add the 1 into 2, 9. Okay, I got it.
General form is kind of like the quadratic form. We want to set it equal to 0. So, combine any like constants that you can. We have 11 on our left side, right? Left side, right?
Trenton's got a friend.
It's just plus 1.
You're good, man. Thank you
It's
very
just
much.
plus 1.
Ah, I'm back. I doubled that one.
It's like,
I was like,
wait,
have I been
wait.
manufacturing wrong this whole time?
Never mind.
That's one.
No, I don't mean to be
Yeah,
blunt. I just,
I accidentally wrote two. They had already caught me.
I know I'm blunt.
We're all wrong.
Worst part about me.
Eh. No, I like this straightforwardness. So x squared plus y squared plus, no,
Minus
Minus.
6x minus 2x or
Minus
2y. 2y
plus
by
10.
yeah.
and then if we really just think to the next step,
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh?
I didn't know if you guys would want to skip it or not.
I don't like skipping.
So it would have been plus 10,
Probably.
but we're far enough in here. If you skip a little bit of algebra, I'm okay with that. Like, as long as you do it correctly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's annoying.
So-
Okay.
Do it backwards.
Oh,
What?
And see. Because it's different.
I remember
That's
doing it.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Because we looked at that yesterday,
Not fun at all.
but I told you guys you didn't have to write it down.
I didn't enjoy it.
Did
So
you?
I did it, and I think I did it right, but I don't know if I actually did it right. So now we'll check.
Are you
See
still
if
sad about
I
Tyler?
do
I
it.
can't see that.
Hold on, I'm writing it down here.
Wait, what's the 11? So we have to send it to Hubert, right?
We're trying to get a graphing for January.
Graphing form doesn't have to be. Graphing form.
We're putting
not
this
general.
back to graphing form. We first just took graphing to general, now we're going to go general to graphing.
Ooh, yell.
Menus.
He's gonna yell.
I think my yelling is starting to do ear damage.
Can I yell that? I wanna
How
yell.
about all 9 of us, or all 10 of us yell at one time?
Yes.
We're not-
Yeah.
Oh,
Mr. Hudson.
It's not trying to have us all go penis and vagina.
What?
Alright, okay, Zion was all like
Penis.
penis and vagina, and it was really annoying.
Hilarious.
It's not hilarious, it's dumb.
No, in Jeremiah. It's allowed to see because I'm just like Jeremiah. He called speaking the
If you need graphing ones, they may have stolen them all. You should take a copy of your menu and distribute it to your friends.
Wait,
I have a bunch of copies.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I don't know my menu. Did you do that last time?
Yes. They put you on a group.
What are menus? April, what are menus?
What do you think of
We're
menu?
afraid of option that
You
you're
guys
not
get
in.
to
Give those out to people.
Yeah, we're making.
That's what the pile of food is.
Fancy.
And the firewood and the charcoal.
Oh.
It's gonna be a
Hopefully
decent
it's
day.
not gonna be
Hey,
okay.
but we're cooking during the scout time. I'm gonna go out at lunchtime and like start fire and stuff to get coals
Okay, I
You
going.
guys
agree.
are gonna go
I really
out
hope
to
that you guys don't
cook?
have terrible weather.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a snowstorm. It's gonna be terrible.
It's gonna like
I'm
55.
thinking inside.
Okay,
Right.
we've seen Ohio.
Hey,
You
ask,
like it.
hey, ask your teacher to go outside and come chill with us.
Okay.
You guys can go right outside.
You have to ask Mr. Mack.
I mean, I have extra stuff. I'll make you guys hot irons. Or you make a banana boat.
Ooh,
You take a banana, you cut a V into it, you put peanut butter, tiny chocolate chips, and then little marshmallows, and you wrap it in foil, and you stick it on the fire.
yeah, 'cause it's just.
Can I have
I want
Yeah.
to do that. Yeah, I'm gonna ask Mr. Beck
Can
today.
you make
No, we both need to ask him tomorrow.
Come see us.
I can't.
I have a bunch of bananas left over from our camping trip this past week.
Yes, please. I want one of
Oh,
those.
yeah,
we have class
next. Maybe not.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to put our not really like terms, but similar terms close to each other, right? So x squared plus 4x, and we're working this to an x minus something squared, or plus, depending.
Yeah, I did.
But what?
You look at the kids.
Yes,
over there.
It's just.
Well, you can if you want. You don't have to.
So what are we gonna do here? Even?
Oh, wait, would we like add 4 to like the x plus?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4.
I'm gonna put this in red actually. Why?
So that when we square the x minus, because it has to be minus 2, so we can get the 4x.
Minus 2?
4 plus.
I gotta turn this into plus,
Yeah,
right?
plus
So
two.
even though our form is minus,
Then it would be plus 2.
Okay.
If you would square 2, then you get 4, so you have to add 4.
so then y squared 2y. People playing at home, we did this yesterday. I'm just imagining like 20 years from now, for some reason, people are watching these videos.
10 million. We'll see.
It just gets posted. And it's just there.
Oh, wow. Well, then I heard.
You could talk to your like future husband, future.
Whoa,
Hey, go find this video.
We're not gonna touch your future family. Like, hey, guess what? This is my math teacher's video from 8th grade.
What goes here?
One.
1, right? Now equals 16 because we just added 5 in the process over there.
Done.
So now this is 16.
Then you go downward steps. Then y plus 1 squared
Equals 16.
Yay, we did it.
So now we know
Yes.
center, careful,
-2.
-2, -1, radius. Please make sure you have all of that down and that it makes sense.
Yeah. I did it.
Jenny, are you comfortable doing this?
I am very comfortable doing that.
Weren't you all with me when we started? You were all, no, I hate this. Is gonna be terrible.
No, I mean like the proofs of like the chords and the arcs and the.
So think back to when we first started completing the square of quadratics and how difficult that was.
Yeah.
Right, and now you guys are just like, oh yeah, we just didn't do that, and then there you go.
I still don't like it.
He has a question.
Yes,
do
yes, you do.
He has a question.
Oh, we added 5 to it because we added 5 on the left-hand side, and we added the 4 and added to 1.
Oh.
So we added this 4 so that this would work out as a perfect square. Added this 1 so this would work out perfect square. And then, because of that, we had to add 5 to the right side. Thank you for asking. Are we okay?
No.
If you would like,
Last night.
Yeah.
this is not necessary. Even CPM says optional. If you would like to use algebra tiles,
No.
you could, but this is the same problem. This is what we just did.
Sorry.
So, I would rather you, like, we can get through the lesson, and if you want to play with algebra tiles and do homework and whatever, that's
Alright,
fine.
16.
So, I think we all understand what we did there, and we're pretty good with the quadratics.
Oh,
If
wow.
we introduce, and actually, the funny thing about you asking that, the next question was going to say, okay, now let's look at what we did, and because we wanted to make, and really, it's pretty cool if you think about it, just take a moment. If we rearrange these to make physical perfect squares, that's going to tell me how many more tiles I need to bring in. So you'd make a physical perfect square with the x tiles and some 1s, and you'd make a physical perfect square with the y squared and the other y tiles and some 1s, and have to introduce those other tiles over here. So this would have reinforced, so you would have totally understood that. Cool. But we're not going to. All right, try this one. Try this one. You already did the homework?
Yeah.
Wait, the -4 doesn't work. Can't be negative.
Now, remember how a lot of you got like multiple progressings on a test because you kept telling me that something couldn't happen?
Oh, yeah, you can go
Yeah.
over. I just realized that yesterday.
Over to what?
You can go over the value as long as you go back down. Like, you can make it, instead, if it needs to be like 10, you can make it
But that's
12.
not with perfect squares.
Okay.
That's with
That's
just foiling.
That's still another thing, though. Another thing to remember.
You can just make it -x.
Hmm?
-x. -x plus 2.
So if we, actually I'm skipping a step. We rearrange this. We have x squared minus 4x and then maybe something y squared. I'm not going to color code this one as intensely. Something. And honestly, if I just want to toss it somewhere for now, it doesn't matter if I keep my 3 over here and move it because remember it's the same equation. So this would need to be x minus 2, right, to make that happen.
Yeah.
So then this would have to be
That would have to be
Plus 3.
something.
So, top 9. Plus 9.
16.
16.
No, it's not plus 16.
Plus, yeah.
Oh, you guys said plus 16.
That is what Ethan said. But then
I just think
Nine
plus
plus four.
nah.
Pre-calc.
What?
How?
It's not pre-cal.
I know, but Jessica's older sister Tisha is taking pre-calc.
Oh, okay.
Good job.
I think I have a calc book back there if you want it.
No, we're good.
Well, if it's not-
Yes. These are still one.
If it's not here, it's on a
What's
bookshelf
math
at
three?
home. Math 3 is not calculus.
It's just math
It,
three.
it might get
No, it's
into
not
some
pre-cal.
calculus.
Jenny,
but-
they're all, it's
Math
two,
five is calculus.
So,
Yes.
calculus is a branch of mathematics.
Yeah.
Right now, in Math 2, you guys are taking algebra and geometry. These are all algebraic and geometric
I knew it
concepts.
because my cousin takes algebra 1, but she's done stuff that we've already done. That
Yes.
she's
The-
doing now,
the-
and she's in 7th
The
grade.
order of standards is different. The
Yeah.
breakout, yeah.
That's
So
I can help
center-
you with algebra and other stuff.
Center here.
Two, three.
2, 3. 2 negative 2.
Negative.
Yes, I
okay.
got these.
And the radius equals 4.
Yeah, we did it. We yet solved another problem.
Jenny,
These are fun.
Jenny's gonna
These are fun, right?
Jenny,
Get a
this
cookie.
is my book. Scoot over.
Are we supposed to just sketch a graph?
I can't. You need to.
Yeah. I think you guys probably could. I mean, I'm gonna have you do the homework, but I just kind of wanted to keep going. If you'd like to sketch a graph of it, do so, but most of us don't have compasses. And we did a lot of that yesterday, so I'm assuming that because you know the center
Ian
and the
wants
radius,
to do it.
you're all able to do that.
Okay,
I love
she takes
drawing
a
circles.
ruler to highlight things. She highlights things.
Yeah, she uses a
That's
ruler.
sweet.
She takes her time, and it always looks like amazing. And she's
Yeah.
all,
Looks
I can't
amazing.
do it.
So,
But we were just
I-
reading science article.
The only way I passed one of my college math classes, because I couldn't attend every class because I had student teaching, like my teaching schedule and the math class happened at the same time,
Good for you.
was because a friend like
Not
Gia
condescending, actually.
took awesome notes.
She
Yeah,
took notes
he
for
is
Jenny when
great.
Jenny
And
was sick.
I-
She took
Yeah, that's
math
what I'm
before
saying.
Jenny.
It's amazing.
So don't give her crap. Someday you
I didn't
might
give
be
her crap. I
relying
just
on.
said she used highlight.
He is great. She
You
writes
were
down
good
all
at
the
that.
assignments
No, I
because we're in the same class.
I just, okay, I always feel really good because sometimes you're like, I can
Oh my
never
God,
write
it's the
anything
second
good, but your
time.
handwriting is
You don't
like beautiful.
See, he's giving me crap
Because
about
that's
my
the second
balance
time.
skills.
Because you're bad.
Also, that's
That's
your
not
friend.
what-
Learn the
All right,
first
so
time.
this takes it a bit deeper, and it's going to take us a couple minutes. If we want to find the intersection of two circles. Now, the one thing that we whizzed through yesterday, because we just did it too easy and didn't need to use the algebraic concept for, was when we found the intersection of the line in the circle. So, specifically, they had told us do this algebraically, and I forget what method we used to solve it, but
I think we used
One-
the graphing method.
yeah, one way that always can work
Substitution.
is substitution. Right? So one thing we could have done here, substitute x plus 2 in there, this would become x plus 5. Square both of those, you have all like terms, and you can solve for your x values. So I'm going to let you guys dive into the circles intersections on your own for a few minutes and try that. But when it suggests using an algebraic method, always think about, can I substitute anything? Can I isolate a variable, plug it in somewhere else? What can I do?
Which one are you doing right now?
This was back from yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't solve this algebraically, but if yesterday we would have done this through substitution, we were just rolling on the graph, so we just found it graphically. But if we did x plus 2 plus x plus 5 now squared, all of this is going to turn into like terms, right? Just x's. X's and constants, x squared, x's and constants. We can solve that. We can factor down to the quadratic and get our solutions. Here, while you guys work on that, I'm going to show this really quickly just because we didn't do it yesterday.
What if there's only one intersection?
Then they
Or did
may
it
have
wrong?
right adjacent.
Did I do it wrong?
We're on 17, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two intersections.
Alright.
I got 1 and x equals 3.
Now hold up.
Oh, wait.
What's your x value?
Oh.
Because remember how circles aren't a function?
My x thing I got was
What?
3.
Why wasn't a circle a function?
Because it's the stuff that
Well, what is the vertical line test?
there are two,
2 y's for 1 x.
2 outputs for 1 input. So be careful. All because you maybe have just one x, you can still have two outputs.
This would be X.
Think Venn diagram, right? How a Venn diagram would intersect.
So we just solve for y.
These would both have the same x value. Right now, circles could be intersecting totally awkward
Yeah.
manners, but they could be sharing the same x value.
Positive 9 or negative 9?
Here, I'll come back to the problem that we are on today.
Well, I don't know.
I know, it's okay.
I don't know. I just got X out. I have an X value. That's all I have so far.
Are we trying to do it algebraically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do it the way that we just did everything else.
We're not failed doing algebra.
Who's got ideas?
I think I've completely failed to mess this all up, but yeah.
Chris?
Could we take the first equation and start off by subtracting 12x from both sides to make it by subtracting 12x from both sides to make it x squared minus 8x plus y squared minus 6y equals 12 minus 12x.
So wait, what did you do first?
Well, first I took the 12 and made it and took it to the other side of the equation.
They're both equal to 0. You can substitute.
Yeah, that's what
They're
I
equal to each other.
That's what I did.
They're equal to each other, right?
So then most of it actually cancels out, like the x squared,
Yeah.
y squared, and negative 6x.
Yeah.
So it's just 4x equals negative, 4x minus 12 equals negative 8x.
So then you bring 12 to the other side. 8x.
Hold on, you guys are way far ahead.
So
What do you guys?
we know
Oh,
what x
you guys are
equals,
equal.
but I don't know how to get past that.
So,
I think that's
like,
easier than what I
this is why I was trying to make the reminder from yesterday, how we didn't do it algebraically, didn't substitute in where I had a y equals. If both functions are in general form, and they're both set equal to 0, right, kind of like our quadratic form, when they're both set equal to 0, I can set them equal to each other. So, Ethan, you were saying what cancels?
The x squared, y squared, and negative 6x. Because they're all the same on both sides.
Y.
Negative 6y.
Honestly.
So, those cancel because I can subtract x squared from both sides. These cancel because I can subtract that from both
And y
sides.
squared.
And y squared, y squared.
So 4x minus 12 equals negative 8x.
Take the 4
And then you just add 8x to both sides and add 12 to both sides.
Just
I mean, you could.
Or just subtract 4x. Does that
Yeah. If we want to make like it now, it's we're working with negative numbers now, but one step, two step, it's all up to you.
And then it's x equals 1.
Especially when we get in a situation like this. Now, did you figure out what was going on?
I did it right the first time, and wrong the second time.
That's why I said, what is your x? And then I told you, don't doubt yourself only because you failed. Maybe I just need to be more direct. What I was telling you to do is don't redo your work. Check for a second point of intersection stacked on top of your other one.
I got one of the points of section is 3, so I don't know if I did that right the first time. I think I probably did it the first time wrong.
So your y values, one's positive, one's negative.
Oh wait, the x squared.
What do I do with my x equals 1?
You substitute it into one of the equations.
Sub in both. I mean, you can. Or if one gives you two different solutions,
Yeah.
that would be cool. But so I have
X equals 1.
4.
so x equals 1. Then we sub in to find our y. So 1 squared is 1. 4 times 1, 4. We still have y squared. Still have 6y.
You can do minus 7.
Minus 7 equals 0. We can solve that. Or
Oh my.
7 was positive 7. No, that's negative 7 and positive 7.
Remember, we can go past what we're shooting for. So, this was something that a few of you guys were struggling with on mastery. My B term is -6. And some of you are like unwilling to let it go past and then come back. But if your C value is negative, it's almost always what's going to happen because they counteract each other. So we go past our 6, our -6, and we come back to +1. So that makes our solution values for Y,
7, 1.
making our solution points 1, 7, and 1, -1.
Wait.
So the single X value that we plug back in, then when factoring. Now, if that didn't work to get 2, we could sub into the other equation.
And then it wants to do it back to
So now completing the square.
What?
Okay, this is
That'll be the second.
Graphing them so that we could actually like put them on the graph. Just to practice that again before we.
That's what I was trying to do before. Oh, I got the first equation. Just so that we can graph them.
Yes. Yep. So you know the center and the radius, and you can put them on the graph. And if you draw your graph well, you will be able to find those points of intersection. Are you humming Smooth Criminal?
That's what I think she's coming, but I don't think that's what she
No,
is.
it's actually some that somebody
No.
that I.
Okay, when was the song? Maybe. You're coming.
Okay, maybe.
It's
It
Triumph,
sounded
and it
like
was
you
made
did.
by Mr. Wimberly, who's in our chamber strings. He made the song. I'm surprised he's only called Smooth, but he's like,
You got similar equations. We have to graph.
So this we really could have put over there. 21, 25?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 25 things.
we got this. I got it. I guess.
So center -2, 3, and radius 5.
-2, 3, yeah. Oh, it's very similar to the first one. What?
I noticed that too.
What goes here?
Oh, 16.
And here. So over here. Wait, if you put a -16.
It's not -16 though.
It's positive. Yeah, there you go.
I had a minus there, and all you guys told me that was 16.
Well,
Sorry, I was checking to see if you were looking, but you were just telling me.
But we
I
with the
was.
right answer was we knew it was supposed to be 25.
Oh, yeah, we figured too.
I can only try to test you guys. You guys are pretty good.
Yeah, great conference.
Yeah.
Giving you.
Grab it randomly.
You're bad.
So they both have a radius of 5. They both have centers with a y value of 3. And then we can put them on the graph.
I think I need to do this on the back.
and it'll work out.
So do we work on it now?
If you want to graph it, that'd be awesome. Otherwise, start now. We have 10 minutes left.
Don't you have deadlines?
Yes, you have time to do
Yeah, that's the same. Or once you know your center, yeah, or once you have it in a graphic form. And you can put it in there in general form, and it'll figure it out. But, like I was telling some of my 7th graders this morning, like the the response or the solution being like, I'll have technology do it for me, is a really dangerous response. Because you have to be smart enough or smarter than the technology so that you know everything going on behind it. So if you just knew that you could put that general form equation into Desmos and it would get your circle without knowing how to get your center and radius on your own, that'd be really dangerous. You know what I mean? If you just blindly trusted the technology to do it.
Yeah, like what if the technology is a glitch?
Or what if the technology stops working? Giant electro.
What? If the technology no longer works.
Well, it's close-ish. You think that
Yeah,
the
Those
one-
compasses aren't
that I
great,
would die?
really. You guys should
I
get better
can't
compasses.